We were doing fundraising conversation, and then she started sharing with me what else she had been doing to unify rural candidates up and down the state. And I told her then, whatever you need from me, Indiana's own is gonna help you. So y'all give it up for my girls, one of the hardest working ladies doing the thing in our party, for your rural communities, Michelle Higgs.
Woo! Go Michelle! Woo woo! Indiana Rural Summit.
Everybody. So my name is Michelle Higgs, and I am from Bloomington, Indiana, northern part. And I ran for House District 60, which includes parts of Monroe, Morgan, and Johnson County. And I say that because that is the fun part of being gerrymandered. And when I ran for office, it reminded me of things that I felt growing up in small town Indiana. I grew up actually in Martinsville. And there's something about feeling invisible. How many of you have felt invisible? Show me your hands. Great. Okay. How many of you are just introverted like me? Because that's part of it too, right?
No.
One of my favorite signs at the 50-51 rally is like even the introverts are pissed off in here. You know? But I say that about feeling invisible because being in rural spaces and what our Republican supermajority has done over these last 20 years is it's exploitative, is what it is. We are going to find an invisible space that we think we're going to put, I don't know, toxic waste. We are going to defund the things that people need. We are going to actually put elected officials in rural communities that will legislate harmful laws that impact the state, but we're going to put them coming from somebody in a rural place because they won't actually complain because they won't even know. That's what's happening is we are being exploited and used time and time and time again. And when I ran for office, there was another thing that I felt. And I'm going to use the terms varsity and junior varsity because we're all in Indiana. We know what that means. So you have your varsity candidates. These are the ones that are in those flippable districts. We hear about swing states, and Indiana is not a swing state anymore. Okay, so when you're running as a candidate in a district where you are not a flippable seat, you're that junior varsity, we have not had investment in that. We haven't had investment at the national level into Indiana, and we haven't had that investment from the state into our rural communities, which means when you want to run for office, it feels incredibly vulnerable because the ask to you is to step out from your community in an incredibly visible way with zero support behind you except good luck, and here's a bunch of consultants.
Yep.
Right? That's the reality. Now, I'm going to take a step back and tell you a quick story that I learned last night. And it does deal with carbon sequestration. So Ken, you and I have to talk because I don't particularly like the idea, but I'm not as informed as probably you. However, in Vigo County, they have been battling carbon sequestration because they're trying to use eminent domain to claim property, farm property for this, right? So people are pretty upset. And back in 2024, somebody read a letter from a gentleman, Curtis Cummings, who he was running to represent Vigo County. And he was imploring people, saying, my constituents, they are mobilizing across all sorts of political backgrounds, everything. They're coming together. And I heard that. And I also knew that another candidate that was running for House, Michael Potter, he was an environmental engineer. And in my mind, I'm like, if I could just connect Michael with Curtis and the people from my constituency, they've actually gone through an environmental problem with water. They've had water plumes that are toxic. So I'm like, if my base could connect with their base and understand that we're dealing with environmental issues where people are being ignored. Those communities are being ignored and exploited. Maybe we could do something. And I share all of that because from that conversation, from that thought process, emerged what we now call the Indiana Rules Summit.
Woo!
And in 2024,
Woo!
we organized 12 House candidates across 30 counties. That represents 34% of Indiana land-wide.
Woo!
And I don't think people realize how monumental that is to tell people we're coming. We're here. You're here. Join us. Do this thing. The other thing was last night I'm talking to a woman who she has been in Vigo and fighting for the carbon sequestration. And she was just feeling so demoralized because now SB1 and all the other things, and it just feels like nothing's happening. And I looked at her and I said, out of these ashes though, your problem birthed the Indiana Rules Summit.
Woo!
Sit with that for a moment. Because out of these ashes, there are passions, there are dreams that you have, there are visions that you have that you want to see in your community. You want to see them. And I'm here to tell you, if we just get together, don't let them tell you no. They're going to try and put laws up and all of these different things, but there's nothing preventing you from having a mutual aid network.
Right.
There
Right.
is nothing preventing you from growing food in your own backyard and sharing it.
Right.
There is nothing preventing you when you go wherever if you go to a faith house, if you go to a church, talking to your people there. There's nothing preventing you at your schools to think creatively on after school programs or anything like coming together. The other thing that has emerged in all of this is called Organizing Indiana. And you should have handed out to you. There's a form here. We are building 3.5%. And what I mean by that, many of you, if you're from 5051 or from Indivisible, you have heard this phrase, that there's a study that says that if 3.5% of any given population engages in sustained nonviolent participation, it is transformative to that community. So what we are building across Indiana is a 3.5% connectivity of all people aligned around values, okay? And I want to tell you what that works out for Washington County, because I did some numbers. Now, granted, this is from the 2020 census. There's a total population in Washington County of 28,182, roughly, okay? Of that, the adult population was 21,658. 3.5% of that adult population in Washington County works out to 758 individuals. Let me put that even further. 76 people bringing 10 people each. You've created your 3.5% in Washington County.
Woo!
Okay? Think about that. And then where do you get those 10 people? You get them from friends and relatives, friends and neighbors, coworkers, professional contacts, school, alumni networks, religious and community groups, sports, hobbies, and social clubs. That reading group, please. Online and social media connections. Seriously. Lastly, the other thing I want to tell you, power, they say power is organized money and organized people. I'm going to also tell you, organized people does not equal organized votes.
Right.
I'm going to say it again. Organized people does not equal organized votes. So all of the movement that's happening, and it is great. We want to gather around every courthouse and all of these things. We want thousands of people. But you need to then channel all of that energy into the electoral work in your community. Get with your local Democratic group. Get with your other groups, candidates, find candidates, partner with them. And then get out there and talk to people and door knock, register people to vote, stay informed, because we are that 3.5%. I'm going to end with the cry that we would always say at our Rural Summit. When I say e pluribus unum, I want you to say out of many one. Okay? E pluribus unum. Out of many one. E pluribus unum.
Out of many one.
E pluribus unum.
Out of many one.
Thank you.
Woo!
I don't have to do a chant now. She just did it.
Thank you.
I am going to close it out. One more speaker, then I'm going to close it out. Sarah Blessing, come on up.
Thank you. Thank you so much for turning out tonight. I'm Sarah Blessing. I ran for State House, and some of Washington County could vote for me, and I'm planning on running again. And Tim Peck, who ran for Congress, he's running again. Tim Peck and I started a media company called Project Next. We're live right now on Project Next. You all can follow it on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all those places. And the reason we started it is because after the election, we were a little shocked. Anybody else? I was really looking forward to telling my daughter we had our first woman president. It was shocking. And we're like, wait a minute, something's missing. We're in a political bubble. We were thinking people knew what was going on, and they don't. When I went and I talked to voters at Corden High School on election day, I talked to about 125 people. Not a single one of them knew me or Tim Peck or Jennifer McCormick. They were there for the presidential election. Most people in Indiana have no idea what's going on with our state government. They are doing that on purpose. They don't want us to know the terrible things they're doing. They don't want us to know that Gary Byrne, our state senator, is trying to take out consent from sex education. He tried to do that this week. We stopped it, you all. We stopped it. So Tim and I are like, well, we've got to do something different. So we started a media company. We go live on a bunch of different platforms. We have almost 500,000 views since we started mid-December, you all. We are going to have these people on. You got an organization, you got a pride community, you're organizing, you got Indiana Rural Summit, which I'm a part of and rocks. You can come on our program and speak about it, and we can inform the great people of Indiana what's going on. The other thing we have to do is we have to talk to our neighbors, even when we think they voted differently than us. Because the reason we started a media company, the media companies out there, the big ones, are lying to us. The right is lying to us, and the left is lying to us. We need a company that's for the people, and that's what we're trying to do with Project Next. So please join us, talk to me. I'm going to do a live show after this and have some of you on, and don't give up hope. This is working. This is working. Love you all.
All right, what's the name of the media company again? Project Next. Project Next.
Just so everybody knows, Michelle and I are talking about two different forms of carbon sequestration.